Hey guys, what's going on? Rodolfo here. And in my last video, I talked to you guys about getting the WWDC Scholarship. And a few of you asked me here and on Instagram to make a video explaining how I got in, what my playground was. So this is what this video is going to be all about. I'm going to go over requirements, give you a few tips if you want to try out next year. And then by the end of the video, I'm going to show you what my playground was. I'm going to show you a little bit of the code, and hopefully it can give you a pretty good idea if you want to try out next year. So first of all, what is the WWDC Scholarship Program? Well, WWDC, as you guys know, is a conference where Apple usually releases their new versions of iOS, macOS, anything software related. It lasts for about a week. A ticket costs about $1,600, so it's pretty expensive. Now, what the scholarship program does is they select about 350 students from around the world every year to receive a ticket for the conference, lodging at the San Jose State University dorms. For some students, they pay for the plane ticket if you can show them that you don't have the money to pay for it yourself. And they also give you 1 year of the developer program, which costs $99, so you can put apps in the App Store and things like that. So it's really amazing what they do for students. There is an event on Sunday before the main keynote on Monday, just for students at Apple Park. Usually there is a lounge for the students at the conference. So there are just a bunch of things, a bunch of cool things that they do for students that people who pay to go to WWDC don't have access to. So how do you get in? Well, there are a few requirements, and they change year to year. They may change year to year. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about is the requirements as they were for 2019. Most of them should be the same. It hasn't changed for the past few years, but just be aware that things could be different in 2020. So the first requirement is you need to be at least 13 years old. Apple sometimes makes exceptions for that, and there is no upper limit. You can be 80 years old if you're a student and you're 80, you can get in. The second requirement are a few letters. One is describing your playground. I'll go over it in a few moments. One is talking about what is it that you do to share your love of coding with other people. And the main requirement is that you have to send them a playground. It can be an Xcode playground that only works on the Mac, or a Swift playground that you can make and run on the iPad. The person who's going to judge it has to be able to interact with everything on it in 3 minutes or less. So you can't make a long game or something like that. It has to be concise. The zip file that you send them with the playground and all the resources, it has to be at most 25 megabytes. So these are the general requirements, and I'm gonna give you 5 tips on how you can try to get in next year. This is the second time that I won. I won in 2017 and now in 2019. So hopefully my experience can help you win in 2020 when registrations open again. So my first tip, which may seem like a stupid tip, is read the instructions carefully. And if they ask for a 3-minute playground to interact with it, and you send them something that it takes 10 minutes, you're not gonna get in. If they ask for a zip file that is 25 megabytes or less, if your zip file ends up being 26 megabytes, you're not even going to be able to send it through the website. So be careful with all the requirements and read them carefully. My second tip is get your documents in order fast. You need to send them proof that you're a student, and if you want to apply for assistance so they can pay for the plane ticket, you're gonna need a letter from a teacher or a coordinator, a dean, someone like that. So there may be a case where you need someone to sign something, or you need a teacher to sign something, and you don't want to be like in the last day trying to find someone that can sign something for you or write a letter for you and the person went on vacation or something like that. So you don't want to be in the situation where you've taken care of all the hard work of making a playground, writing your letters, doing everything that is the hard part, and then you're not able to apply because you didn't have the right documents. My third tip is take a considerable amount of time, set it aside to write your letters, because they are just as important as the code in your playground. So depending on your case, you might have to write 4 letters. One is mandatory, one is optional, but I say it's also mandatory because I think it can help you get picked or not. And 2 are truly optional. So the first one that's mandatory is you have to describe your playground. And here's my tip. You will be judged on creativity. So you have to pitch your idea. You have to tell them why you picked the theme that you picked, what makes your playground unique, what makes your idea unique. And good storytelling is an asset here. So in my case, since this year is the 50th anniversary of the first moon landing, I decided to make a playground that was a children's book to teach children about what the mission was, what happened. And in my letter, I talked about it at length, about how important I thought that the Apollo 11 mission was historically. And you're also going to have to talk about the technologies that you used. What frameworks did you use? Is it supposed to run on the Mac or the iPad? And in this case, in my case, I went over the entire process that I used. So I told them about how I hand drew everything on the iPad with the Apple Pencil, the illustrations for the pages, for the ships, for everything that you see in the book. I then moved on to talking about what kinds of animations I used, about using protocol-oriented programming to make the code more reusable. And basically what I did was I told the story of how I worked on it, what I did and why. The second letter that you have to write is a letter that talks about what is it that you do to share your love of coding with other people. In the website it says that it's an optional letter, but I don't think it is. I don't think you should treat it as optional. I think you should write this, and I think it's a good way to show that you are actually excited about programming. You have other projects, you have more reasons for them to pick you. And I think this can be anything, like you teach your friends programming. In my case, what I used is this channel. I talked about how I created a YouTube channel to share my journey as a developer with other people, and hopefully not only learn from other people but also share and teach what I picked up along the way. I plan to do tutorials, I plan to do other things and highlight other developers as well on this channel. So that's what I talked about. You have to pick what is it that you do, and just as with the first letter, use good storytelling and tell them what it is that you do. The third and fourth letter are actually optional. The third is regarding travel assistance. If you can't pay for tickets, plane tickets, and you need Apple to pay for it, then you should write this letter, tell them your circumstances, tell them why you need it. My tip here is don't do this if you just to get a free ticket out of it. They don't give this to all of the scholars that ask, and if you can pay for it but you lie and you get it, you may be taking it from someone that couldn't pay for it, but you explained it better and they didn't get it and you did. So don't write this one if you don't actually need it. If you do need it, however, my tip for you is to be as honest as possible and as detailed as you can. Maybe you don't have a job, maybe you are in debt, then tell them that. Tell them in a way that is honest, and I know it can put you in a vulnerable place talking about your finances in that way, but if you want to convince them that you really need it, then you have to set pride aside and tell them. The last letter, which is also optional, is about if you have apps in the App Store, then you can tell them about it. I don't know if they're gonna do this this year, but last year they featured apps from scholars in the first page of the App Store. So if you do have an app, I highly recommend that you write about your app, pitch it, good storytelling, same thing, in the best way that you can. What problem does your app solve? Why did you create it? Because maybe it will end up in the first page of the App Store and it could help you get a lot of downloads. My fourth tip is you should try to start as early as you can. Usually when they release the information about the scholarship, they give you like 10 days, 2 weeks to work on your playground and send it. And if you want to do something more refined, you're probably going to need more time. So I would recommend that you start working on it around January, early February at most, so that in March, when they release it, you just have to polish it and send it to them. Now, the issue with this tip is that everything can change. You can start working on a playground, and then when the instructions come out next year, they want an app or they want something completely different, and all the work that you did up to then is worthless and you have to start from scratch. But you would have to start from scratch anyway. So what I would recommend is start early, because if you have to throw it away and start over, you'd be starting over anyway like everybody else. But if the instructions didn't change much, then you might have a 2-month head start that can put you in a good position. And for my last tip, my fifth and last tip, I'm going to talk to you about my playground. So as I said, my playground was about the first moonland. What I didn't tell you yet was that children's book was not the first idea. I wanted to make something using ARKit, and I first built an app in Xcode and ran it on the iPhone, which is what you're seeing, where you would have a portal and through AR you would end up on the moon landing site. You would be able to see the astronauts and the moon lander in 3D. But then once I moved that code to a playground on the iPad, it would just crash every single time. What I think was happening was that I was running into some sort of memory limitation. I think my 3D scene was too complex, and once Swift Playgrounds tried to render it, it would hit some sort of ceiling and it would just crash. I started working on this in early January, and then I got to about a week before the deadline to submit, and it wasn't working. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't fix it. So I was so afraid that I was not gonna be able to fix it in time that I had to pivot and do something else. And so I ended up throwing everything away, starting from scratch, one week before the deadline. And it's this children's book concept talking about the whole Apollo mission. So as you will see, I drew everything on the iPad with the Apple Pencil and used code to animate the ship and a few elements on the screen. Used Final Cut to take clips from TV transmissions that happened at the time of the moon landing and edit it into short video clips that I could put in a few pages. And after a week of going to my full-time job during the day and spending evenings and part of the night trying to do this, the last weekend and everything, it all worked out. So here's my tip. Both times that I won, I did something simple. As I said, I won in 2017 and I won in 2019. 2019, and I tried in 2018 and I didn't win. To me, that was the most interesting project. It was supposed to be an image recognition thing, but sometimes the Core ML model that I used, because of the 25 megabyte limit, the model was not that great. So lots of images, lots of objects, it would just recognize the wrong thing. And I think that it's better to try to do something simple and do it very well and have it work all the time than try to get an ARKit project or a Core ML, AI, whatever project and have that not work 100% of the time. Even though it seems that you tried to do something that was more impressive, if it doesn't work all the time, it's no good. So my tip for your playground is do something simple, do something that looks good. I'm not a great designer. You're gonna see that it looks very childish, but it's supposed to be a children's book. But I have friends that got in who are mainly designers, and they claim that the biggest reason why they got in is because their stuff looks amazing. Now, you don't have to be a designer, but you have to try to make it look as good as you can. Don't forget that design is how it works, not just how it looks, and try to make something simple, concise, that works 100% of the time. And if you can fit good storytelling in that, that's even better. As I said, you have 3 minutes, so if in those 3 minutes that person can go through a beginning, a middle, and an end and feel like they had a full experience, I think that gives you a higher probability of winning. So I'm gonna show you my playground now and go over the code a little bit, and hopefully that can give you an idea of how to do your project for next year. So I'm going to show you the playground first, and then I can show you a little bit of the code. As you can see, it's pretty simple. It's the Earth seen from the moon. It's a very simple hand-drawn design of what could be an iPad screen, and there's a little bit of text here.
Choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
As you turn the page, the playground does the page turn animation and shows the first video, and there's also a little bit of text here. You go on, it shows the Saturn rocket. Once I tap next, it's going to fly off the screen. Shows the lunar landing and the Columbia ship going past the page. A little more text here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
So it shows a short video of the rocket launch.
The Eagle has wings, on its own now, but with Columbia near at hand. It coasted around to the backside of the moon.
Forward. Forward. 3 feet down, 2.5. 6 up and back. Face down. 4 forward, just into the right level. 30 seconds forward. Just. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. We copy it down, Eagle. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
So a short video of the actual landing as it happened. And now Nero's first steps on the moon.
Coming down the ladder now. Very, very fine grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. And they'll step off the limb. That's one small step for man. One giant leap for man.
So the videos are kind of low resolution just because it's 1969 video. But as you can see, that's how it happened. That's how it goes. So here we have the animation of docking and then undocking and the ship going back to Earth. There's one more video with the splashdown in the ocean, and also the text here, and the end. So extremely simple. It's what I could do with the time that I had after my first project failed. So I'm gonna show you just a little bit of the code here, just because you're probably looking at this and thinking, wow, but this looks just like there's nothing there. But what I decided to do here, as you can see, like this background where the text is and a few other elements, they usually show up on the screen in the same place, or there are elements that are reused, and that's where protocol-oriented programming came in. Let me open the navigation here, and these are the resources. So it all starts here. I have a protocol called book page, and it has a background, it has a text label, a next page button, and a function to set up the book page. Inheriting from this protocol, we have an image book page and a video book page. Then we have a delegate that implements both protocols and sets everything up. So we have a regular book page setup, an image book page setup, and a video book page setup. We have a method taking care of the video player, the image, what should be called when the pages change from one controller to the next, and some helper methods. Here we have an enum containing the text for each page, the path of the file for the videos, and the image path for the images. And we have a helper to do the animations. So this is all very generic code that once you're here, let me expand this. As you can see, there's very little code in each controller. This is the whole code for the first page, because I tried to make everything as reusable as possible and not copy and paste stuff around. So as you can see here, it loads the view, it sets everything up, calling the delegate. Once the view appears, it does the animations, it starts playing the video if there is a video, and if the next button is tapped, then it does what it should do to change the page. And there is very little that changes from one to another. Here you have the animation to launch the rocket off the page. So it does the animation, goes back to the main queue, and changes the page. So this entire playground here, it has only 394 lines of code, but that's only because you have 100 more here, you have 130 more here, and you have 60 more here. It took more time to think things in a way that were reusable than make the playground itself. So this was the project that I sent. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the other tips in this video. I'm really sorry for how long it turned out to be. And if you made it until the end of this video with, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's birds singing outside, and I don't know how good the audio is going to turn up, but if you made it this far in this video, congratulations and thank you. And if you liked it, if you found the tips helpful, then leave a like. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the playground, of the tips that I sent. If you want me to better explain something, let me know in the comments. Subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.